I invite Julie back up here. We will have time, or I'm going to bring all the breeders back up here at the end. So there'll be time for more questions if that is necessary. So last speaker is Julie Enfield from Northwest Plant Company. And I will pass the mic over to her.
Okay, so I'm Julie from Northwest Plant Company. We're based here in Linden, Washington. We propagate and sell raspberry plants, primarily for the machine harvest process industry here in Whatcom County. We also sell plants into Southern Washington, Oregon, and Canada. Aside from that, we are running a cooperative breeding program with Plant and Food Research, and they're in New Zealand. They've supplied genetics. We've been working with them for getting up to like close to 15 years now. They supply the genetics and the scientific expertise, and we work on evaluating their field trials and commercializing varieties. So far, we've come up with Wakefield is the variety that's come out of there. Our goal for our company and our breeding program is to provide the best plants of the best varieties for our industry here in the Northwest. And to do that, we hope to maximize grower profitability would be the end goal in that. While we run our own breeding program, we also, as a nursery, are cooperating with some of the other breeders that you've already heard from today, and looking at some of their top selections and evaluating them for fruit quality, machine harvestability, measuring yield, and hopefully being able to gain knowledge from that we can pass on to growers as far as making decisions on what growers want to grow. In our program, we want to focus on better berries. One thing that I heard this morning when Tom Krugman was talking for the National Processed Raspberry Council, one of their taglines was berries of choice, having processed raspberries be the berry of choice. And I just thought that was interesting, because that's sort of on the front end as far as variety development and plant propagation and sales is kind of how we want to be involved in that. We want to do that for growers, being able to provide highly productive varieties, machine harvestable varieties, good fruit quality, such as firmness, size, flavor, bricks, color, disease tolerance to field pressures. Pat talked a little bit earlier about bushy dwarf virus and how you can have resistance or you can have tolerance and things like that. And those areas get a little gray right now as sort of they're discovering more things about viruses than we ever knew before. So really, how do varieties hold up under field pressure is really what we would like to look for. Vigor, and if there's labor savings in pruning and tying, or harvest, cutting harvest costs, or season extensions on one end or the other for growers. And then for buyers, trying to keep in mind what their specifications are, as far as color or bricks or flavor, things like that, how it's handled once it's frozen, keeping in mind their specifications so that they can turn it into quality packs that they can sell. And then at the very end, of course, we want to always keep in mind what consumers want as far as flavor and appearance. And, we want consumers to buy red raspberries, but then we want them to buy them again. So giving them a quality experience in their purchase to go back, to growers, so we can keep producing them. So this is what we're focused on, and what we are hoping to put out in terms of new varieties. Sorry. Some of the advanced selections that we're seeing right now, we're seeing excellent machine harvestability in our advanced selection plots. Consistently high yields is something else we're going for, and we feel like we're getting to the point now where most of our advanced selections are there. Earliness is still, I think, a big target. I know a lot of growers struggle with the overlap in blueberry and raspberry season, and that's a problem with Wakefield. So if we could hit the earlier market with some high yielding machine harvestable varieties, I think that would be a really excellent slot to fill. We still need further testing on root rot resistance and tolerance, field tolerance, as well as planting longevity and bushy dwarf resistance. We get positive samples sometimes, but we may not see actual crumbly fruit in the plots. And so that's something that we always want to keep looking for year after year is how it's holding up to the disease pressures in the field. We're going to be releasing a new variety in 2016 this spring. The name is still to be finalized, so we're not unveiling that yet. The code that we've called it to this point is NN08002. It's a mid-season variety. We want to call it early because it's earlier than Wakefield. It's probably more like Meeker. It's not later than Meeker, we can say that. It's high yielding. It's been similar to Wakefield over the past few years in our plots as far as yield. It's machine harvestable. It's firm. It's a little bit larger fruit size than Meeker and Wakefield. It's a little more conical, whereas Wakefield and Meeker are a little more round. The really exciting thing I think about it is that it is showing some root rot tolerance. It's in a grower trial right now that it's got some really good vigor in a heavy spot next to varieties that seem to be dying. The fruit quality seems to be really good, and it looks like it'll IQ up well. We'll be putting out some plants for sale. Our what we think we'll have available is already spoken for 2016, but we will have plants available in 2017. Just to talk a little bit about our plants. The last sort of exciting thing that we wanted to talk about is we're building right now a new tissue culture facility. We're hoping that the actual building will be finished by the end of this year, and then we can implement equipment and actually transition late winter, early spring into our new lab. We'll have increased capacity, so we're also hoping to make some improvements in tissue culture efficiencies. So being able to produce plants more quickly with higher efficiencies. Plug planting is still new, sort of, for our industry. But I think, we think there are some benefits. Some growers are getting pretty good at it. There's some benefits like fall planting is something now that's been tried for the past couple years, both by ourselves and a couple other growers have tried it now too. And previously, plants haven't been available in the fall for planting because of the traditional bare root nursery system, but with plugs, they can be available at any time. And then we think also that we can have a little bit more flexibility with varieties, being able to react and not speculating on what we think growers are going to want to buy a year from when we plant our nursery, but having some flexibility in what we can provide to growers and being able to react a little bit more quickly to demands and new varieties. Yeah, I talked about the increased capacity. We hope to be able to hold things like Shemanis, for example, is something that there's demand for occasionally. It's not often enough to justify putting a large quantity in our nursery because we may not sell it. But if we can have a good stock of tissue culture available, we can react quickly to somebody who may want to plant some in a quick amount, within quick notice. Yeah, that's about all the things I had to really talk about. Chad could have gone on much longer, I think.